I definitely want to make sure that we have keep Miss Hammond on our hearts and minds with her uh, being on leave for the remainder of the semester. And she goes into surgery on tomorrow, so just kind of make sure that we check on her. I'm gonna shoot her a text message to see how she's doing, probably this weekend, and just make sure that we keep her lifted. And in the meantime, she isn't here. That everything in this classroom still had to go on. So if there's anything that the person who is in this room may need some assistance, we just make sure to be there as a helping hand. We have I don't know who it's going to be at this moment, but I think it's going to be a long-term person. So if you just kind of got a little time, just drop in just to kind of see what's going on in here so we can all kind of take a sense of responsibility for our team member who will not be here. So we would do the same thing for you all in the event, something like that happens. So just keep that in mind. And with that being stated, we have our norms. You can lock in on the norm. My norm for today is to have fun. So you can have your norm in your head. Don't necessarily have to share it out. And we will roll on with Miss Jones leading our perfect practice, our first perfect practice. So let's give Miss Jones a round of applause as she comes up, really to the scene with everything.
I'm not a spokesperson. I just like to talk to kids.
Take your time.
Okay. So I'm going to do a fluency. It's a kindergarten fluency. I'm going to y'all use it. I doubt y'all use it in the upgrade. This is when I fluent. Before I ask, do y'all already know how to count the math way? Do y'all already know how to count the math way? Like, starting with this pinky?
Oh, yeah. That's,
Okay, so let me say. So, boys and girls, we have been doing a good job of counting the math way up to 10. So, it's time for us to go on, go from 11 to 20. But just for my sake, to make sure I'm not just assuming that you can count from 1 to 10, would you count to 10 with me the math way? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Good job. You did a good job. So I think we're ready. So today, we're going to do some exercise to count the math way. We're going to do some push-ups. So, but we're not going to go on the floor. So, but it's still going to be fun. We're still going to do a workout. So to count to 11, we're going to push up. Instead of going down, we're just going to go 10. And then 1, which is going to mean 11. Oh. So I'm going to do it, then I want you to do it after me, okay? So we're going to do a push-up. I want you to do it after me. So 11 is 10, 1. You do it.
10, 1.
We're going to do 12. 10, 2.
10, 2.
Let's do 13. 13, 10, 3.
10, 3.
14, 10, 4.
10, 4.
Good job. Let's do 15. 10, 5.
10,
5.
Okay, let's count from 1 all the way to 15. Let's go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Push up time.
10, 1,
11.
10, 2,
12.
10, 3,
14.
10, 4,
15.
10, 5.
Good job, guys. You have counted the math way all the way to 15 doing your push-ups. Good job.
Now I have a question.
Uh-huh.
As the 5th grade teacher who never sees anything like this, do you, after you do the 10, 1, 10, 2, do you say 11 or do you just call it 10, 1, 10, 2?
So okay, so this is going to be in our module 3. This is going to begin in our next lesson.
Okay.
So I'm thinking I'm just going to have to call out, like I'm going to call it out and they're going to throw it out.
Okay.
So I guess.
No, I was just wondering.
Yeah, so like I say 11 and then they just go 10, 1.
Okay.
So do you think that's best or do you think
I think that's fantastic because I was reading a book that talked about one of the reasons why English-speaking students have problems decomposing into 10s and 1s is that when we say 11 or we say 12 or even say 13, we don't realize we're saying 10 and 3 or 10 and 2 and 10 and 1. And that's why I was like, oh, this is so cool.
That's when I got confused and I was practicing with me. Oh, I didn't want to say 10 and.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know when it
10,
means something
10,
else when it
2.
go up in the
Yeah,
upper grade.
yeah.
Right.
We're gonna need it. They
Yeah.
do it with us. 10, 1, 10, and they know it right. Because I'll say the 10 way. It's gonna be called say the 10 way.
Okay.
10, 1. Now say it standard. 11. Now
Yeah.
say it expanded. 11
See,
plus
that's a little
1.
bit more.
Because it's coming to.
Right.
But that's gonna help me
That's gonna
for
help.
second grade.
It's
Like
like-
what I saw in your room, making 10.
They make
That's
it.
really cool.
And it's good because when you had the discussion during the team, how you can see how what she's doing is going to impact what you're doing, and how Miss Jefferson can say, make sure you don't say and,
Yeah.
because when they get to 4th grade, and mean decimals,
That's
or
Yeah.
3rd grade, whatever. And then when they're saying, if you start saying and now,
Yeah.
that will carry
It
with
will
them.
carry.
on,
Yeah, I was trying my
So,
best,
yeah,
like,
just-
don't say and, don't
yeah,
say
just
and.
make sure.
And I have to tell them don't say anything.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to tell them.
Mhm. So,
I learned that from you.
Right.
That's
and with that particular exercise, with it being perfect practice, that's one thing that we can come together and see how it looks from one end to the other. And then you can actually practice. I don't know if this is a strategy that you actually use in the classroom yet, but the way you were able to ask questions to the team on, is this a correct way or would you do like this? That's what this is for. So just so we can get practice on things that we're doing in the classroom so we can help our practice. Okay? And so those are for that to be our very first perfect practice. I don't think it could have went any better than
yes,
that.
I love
That was
it.
exactly the way that I wanted it to go, and I couldn't have scripted it better. And so I thank you again, Ms. Jones. You all could until 2018. And just coming back around. And with that being said, the next item is the module study reflection. So I want Ms. Jeffries to speak out on. She went to module study on Monday evening, and so just kind of share out some things.
It was good, but I went in expecting it was supposed to be a module study 4. When I walked in, she was like, "Where's your 3 book?" So, because they're moving module 4 to the end of module 6 now. They're moving geometry because they want us to start fraction.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of just went over the last bit of module 3.
Okay.
So,
And that wasn't relayed ahead of time. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, but we just kind of went through the division lessons and I think we only went through 3 lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And just, it was kind of just like an open space when we talked about, okay, which questions we went through, solved the exit tickets, and kind of did some planning.
Cool. Yeah. And next up on module studies, we have, I know
December 5th.
December 5th coming up.
Do it.
I,
4th, 5th, yeah.
I win.
Yes. Yeah, you should be. Go ahead.
I was just shocked to find out that module 1 for us is the hardest of all the modules. Because it compiles everything in one. I had no idea. Because we didn't have module 1 last year. So, I think we started at 3. So, but 1 is the hardest and they have so many things. And then some of the stuff that we found out that we teach, they want to get into like 3rd and 4th grade. Some of the stuff that we are introducing to them. I was, wow.
That's interesting. Mm.
Like measurements.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was measurements.
It's coming to us.
He's coming to 2nd grade.
Okay, 2nd grade then. But yeah. Well, it might not have been the measurement, but it was something that she told us that is not going to be introduced to them until like 3rd or 4th grade. And I was just thinking that's such a big time span between there.
Right.
Maybe something is going to go on to get them to that.
Yeah.
At
probably
least
on that.
something else is going to go on.
To add on to it, so when
And
they
then
get
when
there.
they get to it, they'll see it because everything is connected.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe that's what it is.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing to know because I know sometimes, like, had you not gone to the module study, that information, that information had not even gotten to me yet.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's one thing that, you know, that's kind of why we want to make sure we are in the know.
Yeah.
And that's why I try to keep you all abreast of anything that I see that comes through my desk that has something dealing with math, Eureka, anything like that, so you all won't get caught off guard. Because if we wouldn't have found it out until January, then that would have been, you know, we would have been all off. So just keep that in mind. And then just with the ones who are going to the mock studies upcoming, just make sure I really am pressing you to ask any clarifying questions you have about anything, because those are the people who can answer your questions quicker than I can, and they'll be right there at your. If they can't get the answer, they can get the answer from somebody who is probably right next door or in their building they're in. And so just making sure that you're using their time for any misconceptions that you may have around your research. And that would be a good practice going forward. Alright. Have the data tracker progress, and so I know that our next meeting will not be until that Friday we come back from Thanksgiving. So after today, the next Wednesday you have is, I think that's the 29th or something like that. But whatever that it is, that's your time for actually to have a little working session that you'll have on your own. You'll be able to do any type of data analyzation or whatever that's needed, and then we'll discuss that on Friday's meeting on the December 1st. And so just keep in mind that we do have benchmark sessions coming up on Monday and Tuesday of next week. I will not be here next Tuesday, but for Monday, just making sure that anything that you need assessment-wise is known before Monday, so we have a smooth testing process, and also make sure we're keeping abreast of the time that it's taking for those students to assess. And since we don't have anyone in third grade right now, I know on Monday I'll be able to do some monitoring of third grade just to see how long it's actually taking those students to assess. This came up in a meeting that I was in a couple of days ago, where the teachers at one particular school, they were actually just letting the students take the test, letting them finish it. If it took all class period, if it took multiple class period, they were just going through that approach. I don't want us to get caught up into doing those type of things, because that's not how it's going to be assessed at the end of the school year. So just kind of keep that in the forefront.
Okay, I do have a question about that, because the last benchmark, I set a hard 1 hour cutoff for them, and then was told afterwards, well, just tell them to get it done. So which one is it? Because it was, okay, you have an hour to get it done, and I don't know how many I didn't have it wasn't maybe 15 or so didn't finish. And then, oh, but we need that data. Well, isn't that data?
It is.
You know, so it was kind of like, well, then why was I
Giving a hard time.
Giving a hard time to them if
yeah.
I'm going to be turned around, get told on the other side, well, just tell them to get it done.
Well, so what I envision is that when they're taking the assessment, I know in some classes last year during the testing they had the clock, the timer up. And I believe if you practice with that timer up, and then just kind of, we have 15 minutes left, and so make sure you get as much done, or try to complete the test, or complete the test, then time frame, then I think we'll be able to see what questions they actually were rushing on to get complete versus the ones that they actually took their time to work on, and then that will give us even more data to see how we can actually kind of pace them when it comes to assessing, so they can actually meet that time frame. I know there was a big issue in 4th grade last year, well, across the grades, with at the end of the year when we had a lot of students who didn't finish their assessment. So just getting them in the habit of seeing that time up there, I think that'll kind of give them a sense of urgency. It's yours, I guess. Any questions about anything thus far? Okay. Corrective instruction action plans, that's a heavy component that I'm going to focus on the first. It's going to take something that's going to pretty much do just to ensure that we have enough time to actually go through and actually work with those small groups of students who need to be retaught certain skills. And just knowing that with the way that our Eureka math block is scripted, it doesn't lean heavily to being able to pull groups like that intentionally to work on different items that they did not master on a previous assessment. And so trying to figure out a way in which it can be beneficial to the students who are not only maybe not getting mastery of their particular skill that's being taught that day, but the students who are not mastering certain skills that were assessed from the previous benchmark. And I know RTI is kind of its own specific time that I really don't want to touch that because it's very protected. And so just looking at ways that we can kind of be creative in getting all students meeting their needs in regards to mastering the skills. And so that's a Mr. Wilson piece that I'm going to analyze over the next week and just kind of have a rollout of how I would like for it to go. Also with input that I'm going to come around and get from you all individually, because I know every grade level is different, and I really have those conversations with you all one-on-one. Since I'm here on tomorrow, I'll sit in on everybody's, I'll come to everybody's room just to help plan with you and to talk about this in depth on tomorrow. All right. Instructional practice guide and our walkthroughs. So I want to start see how that went, and I'm gonna let that come from whoever wants to share out on how some things went. I have yours right here, Ms. Rowland. Let me just get it to you real quick, and we're gonna see if we can find some trends that have been going on within the building. And I know that I do remember when we were discussing during the last meeting, we were some areas that we know we needed to improve on per our site visit, and it was core action 2, using student representations. I believe it was core action 2, C, E, D, can't remember which one, but I just want to see how did that look when we were in that class for that particular time. If we saw it, it might not be any evidence of it, but just kind of want to share out on how some of that went. Was it anybody who was not able to do that just yet?
We were supposed to have the.
Ms. Down? Yeah, just make it, you got it on. You can make time.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're supposed to come see Ms. Park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
so.
you forget. I forgot to.
Okay, but I come back.
I forget.
No, you didn't. You should
I
have.
forget. You reminded me.
Yeah,
Trust
you were
me.
there. I promise you were there.
Trust me, I forget.
So we can make sure that we get into Ms. Carter's class tomorrow, because I know you all have PLC, so.
Okay. I make sure I write on my board so I won't forget Miss Carter.
Okay.
All right.
That's fine. That's right.
So we can start however you all want to start out. Who wants to start out first? This is very open space, so I don't want anybody to feel like this needs to do this, da 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 da. But I want you to just kind of be reflective, be open, and be very authentic in the feedback that's given and received. All right.
Well, yesterday it was hard for me because I was trying to figure out how to add fractions. And so she gave explicit instructions, plus the explicit instruction was on the chart, and I still was trying to figure out how to do it. And but I do know that she always made the children use the process. Make sure you understand. She always made sure they understood the process, and then I think 1 or 2 delivered up at the board showing how did they do it, and they had to verbally say it, how they actually came up with the answer. And I was so glad because it was teaching me, because I forgot how to add fractions. I forgot. I'm sorry. I've been teaching 2nd grade for a while, and then been teaching reading because I didn't do math in 4. So that was really, I loved that, and the children were trying. They were trying. The ones that I was by, they really was trying, and they were talking it out what they were doing. That's what I love. Listening to the talking they were doing. Those 2 young ladies in the back. And I know they characters, but they were really trying to figure it out. And I was too.
Welcome to 5th grade math.
Yeah, welcome to 5th. But I love when you did the breaking down the 10, because see, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're doing the 10.
Yeah.
One, and so then with me they are, and
Do
so
a number
because
bond.
they will notice it when if you teach them when I get there. That's number bond, Miss. They're gonna holler at you. They're gonna
Well,
holler
I
at
actually had to go back to 4th grade
you.
and go, how are you teaching improper fractions and decomposition of improper fractions? I mean, it was like, how do you do that? And they were like, oh, and Jeffrey's like, do a number bond. And I went, oh, okay.
And they used the vocabulary word improper. Because I was listening for it. And the little girl at the top, she said, yes, I said improper fraction.
Yeah.
The little girl at the top. So they was using the vocabulary also. And that's good.
So one thing that I heard you say was she had students on the board
Mhm.
using their representations to discuss out, which was a core action to growth area for the school.
Right.
So I'm looking for trends. I'm trying to hear trends. Okay.
Okay.
So anybody else you have to say?
That's it.
Okay.
Mhm.
And whoever wants to share this.
I went to see Miss Perkins, and one thing I noticed is the vocabulary that she's using is the same that we're using. You know, number bonds, decomposing, wholes, parts, some difference. I was hearing the same vocabulary. She had students going to the board. She had them up doing their fluency, jumping forward. They were doing, what was it, number pads, jumping on the number line, how many times counting. And she had the whiteboards. I mean, then some students said, I decomposed the numbers, so they went up and presented. So it was, I was like, they were going to get sticks.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
action.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I'm starting to hear trends. Okay.
I was in Miss Jeffrey's room, and when I walked in, they were going over the education problem, and there's a student up at the board who had solved the problem, and Jeffrey's had another student's book up in her hand, explaining, showing a different way. On the board was a division problem solved with the standard algorithm. The book, from what I could tell, looked like somebody had drawn circles and had divided by distributing it out. But you were pointing out that, you know, we have two different pictures of the same problem with the same solution, which was really good. And, you know, we still have kids doing that. Then most of what I was seeing when I was in there, that was at the very beginning, was just the introduction to the concept development. So I didn't see as much student interaction, but what I did see, there were students who were doing, you know, sharing what they had. It's just the time I was in the room.
Right. Okay.
I observed Miss Hammond yesterday when you came. You said, "Remember your," and so I caught the latter part of her lesson. So there were some things that I did not observe because I was late coming in, but those things that I did were very positive, and I saw where it's all going to come together with what I'm teaching now. They were decomposing. I think it was making different ways of making 12, and all the students. It was funny because the students that answered incorrectly, it was always another student that came behind them and was able to explain why it couldn't be. It was impossible for that to be correct. So I was very impressed with that. They were in the process of getting ready to work their problem set.
Okay.
So like I said, some of it I didn't see because you came by and reminded me, and I looked at the schedule and I came on in. Thanks for the reminder.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. And Ms. Jones, you'll go in and you'll see Ms. Carter, and Ms.
Tomorrow.
Hammond was supposed to come and see you, and so since she won't be in the place, we're gonna have somebody else come in and we'll share those out on December 1st. I'll let you know who it's gonna be. And so the way I did it this time, I know normally I know Ms. Randall and Ms. Jefferson they kind of see each other often, and so trying to get a different perspective of some things. And so the next go around, you'll have a different set of, you have a different person who you'll be paired up with, so you can kind of see it, and we can kind of see how it is across the building to see what it looks like, not just from 4th to 5th, but from 4th to 1st to 3rd, 2nd to kindergarten, things of that nature. And so I was going to be very intentional around it, and a lot of the things that we discussed in our previous meetings about what needed to be evident when we have another site visit or just evidence in general, I think that we see how it's supposed to be done. I want to take it back to how we looked at the video first. We discussed what we saw in the video, which I think gave us a good idea how we can kind of go in and look at this when we go and do our peer observations, and then also a good way we can speak to it as well. So if anybody was to ask you how is this looking now in your classroom, I think that you can speak to what it looks like in your classroom and even your peers, and say how we discuss these different things in the work team meeting and how we're trying to implement them to come into the space. In regards to that, it sounded like we had some really great visits, and the areas that may need to be improved on or for growth purposes, I'll have those discussions one-on-one and just kind of see if there's some things that we can work on with in your practice or the person's practice who you saw that maybe not was seen by me, or maybe you didn't see because of the time in which you went up in there, so we can have some deeper conversation. Because even though like this is wonderful, I want to make sure that we stay with a sense of urgency, that we know we can always get better in something. Some particular area we can always get better on. So just kind of look at an area that you might even have some issues with that you're struggling with, and we kind of need to do a perfect practice with just me and you, just to see how that goes, and just kind of working on that. But that, I believe, is building a sense of team that is the expectation of all teams in the building. And so I really think that what we have going on is one that is very, it's going to be very helpful for us to meet a lot of our goals we're trying to achieve. All right. And the next one was IPG reflections as well. Kind of want to discuss NWEA. You'll get that schedule on by Friday. Testing will begin on the Friday we come back from Thanksgiving break, so it starts on December 1st, goes through December 15th. And so we're probably going to try to have everything wrapped up by the 12th. Maybe use 13th, 14th, 15th as makeup day. And so that schedule, when it comes to you on Friday, make sure you look at it. Since I am the schedule maker, make sure you, then adjustments that need to be made, please make sure you let me know prior to Thanksgiving break, so we can make those adjustments on how you see fit for your particular classroom. I sent everyone's surveys on yesterday. It's a 360 leadership survey that is to score me, and it's a part of my rubric and my growth, and hopefully, what you all give, I'm going to take it and use it as feedback to improve on whatever I need to do to improve on. And so just make sure that we had it done prior to Thanksgiving break. You'll see me a reminder if it's not done. I'll make sure to let you all know. But just go ahead and I think it's what, 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah, it's not long.
Yeah, not long.
3 pages.
3 pages, yeah. Yeah, just
Read it.
yeah.
It's 3 pages of questions.
Yeah, so it's real simple. So just kind of keep that in your mind. And as you can see, I want you to look at our next meeting topics. And so we have, we're going to revisit our SMART goals. So we're going to see how we are. I have a chart completed with that that shows you the progress in which we are in regards to our SMART goals. And I looked at the data from the benchmark assessments. I kind of compiled some data sets on that too. I'm going to take a look at that. We're going to make sure that we take a look at the DDI calendar and also work samples. I'm going to have a little more discussion around that. And the corrective instruction plans, I'm definitely going to put that piece in. Ms. Carter, perfect practice will be on you on the next time. And we're definitely looking forward to that. Community building, Ms. Jeffries, you can just have a community builder in mind. Ms. Perkins, you're going to facilitate. We're going to talk one-on-one on that. And pre-observations, December is going to be very tricky for doing pre-observations. So I'm going to just kind of get some input on that from you all to kind of see what you all think about that. And we'll talk about the test at hand, misconceptions and strategies. And so just keep in mind that this is for December 1st. And so the Wednesday we come back, make sure you use that time for planning purposes and whatnot. so you can kind of get everything that you needed that may need to be turned in, and just kind of have a working session, however you all see fit. With that being said, do we have any final thoughts, questions, comments?
Jessica Henry.
We're gonna look at the next benchmark.
Oh, okay.
And kind of,
Misconceptions.
yeah. Any thoughts, comments, questions? Everything okay? We're good to go. I hope that the food is enough to get you at least to lunch. I hope the NB comedy was enough to get you a nice laugh and chuckle if you're feeling a little down today or whatnot. And also I hope that all the information that we share in here is not left in here and being used, so you all can continue to do
Not
what's
like
been.
Not a lot of spaces on Wednesday.
Right, there you go.
Hey,
So we
but
can,
we can take this out.
there we go. We can take this out. What happens in here does not stay in here.
Okay.
Not
There
Vegas.
you go. Okay.
So that being said, you all have a great day.
Thank you.
I have a question for you, but it's unrelated to anything else that's going on.
Okay.